Hey guys, this is Jack from Team Empire, and today we are covering a new ride line reveal for Set 10 Dragon Masquerade, and funnily enough, it is Dragon Empire, and that's the Gandiva ride line. This is very similar to Sol Rhyron in the sense that it's pretty much another version of a pre-existing deck, where Sol Rhyron was very similar in playstyle to Hexorb. This one is basically just a better version of Eugene. Like, I was reluctant to say that Sol Rhyron was better than Hexorb because I personally don't think it is. Like, Hexorb is definitely a playable deck after set 6, but man, Gandiva is a much better Eugene. Eugene, even after all the support it's gotten, is still not reaching a spot where it actually can do anything really in the meta. So I think this was the right move, just making a new deck that has a very similar playstyle, but actually has like multi-tax and card advantage, win con, just it's pretty cool. But without further ado, let's get started in talking about the ride line. We start off with the grade 0, which is just like every grade 0. It just when road opponent went second, draw a card. Pretty cool art though. A lot of people compared it to looking like a Monster Hunter, character, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I can kind of agree with that too. The next card we have is Scarlet Flame Archer Agoletto, who says, continuous Vanguard Circle. If your opponent has one or less rear guards, when you would ride from your ride deck a Scarlet Flame Archer Diaparno, you can perform the ride without discarding a card from your hand. And it has another effect that says auto. When this unit is rode upon, if your opponent has 2 or more rear guards, you may call this card to rear guard circle. So no matter what, this grade 1 is going to be netting you some form of advantage. If your opponent doesn't call rear guards, then it's still card advantage because you draw a card but you don't discard a card for the ride, so it's just a plus. Then the other effect is still like a break even because it's still a plus. Never mind, it's not a break even, it's a plus because like if your opponent calls rear guards down, you could just call this card to rear guard circle. So no matter what this card does, it's a plus for a ride line, which is really good. Very solid card. Yeah. And then next up we have the grade 2, which is Scarlet Flame Archer Diaparno, who says, auto, when this unit is rode upon by a unit with Ghandeva in its card name, choose one of your vanguards, and until end of turn, the original cost of that unit's act ability is reduced by Counterblast 1. This is really good because obviously Gandiva's act ability is Counterblast 1, and being able to make that reduced is very cool. Also, because this deck does bind cards from the drop zone, you're going to need cards in drop to bind. So using this skill, because you know that you're going to have your first cost reduced by Counterblast 1, you could just guard super early. And if you're going first, you could even guard all your opponent's attacks to make it so you're at 0 damage, but you could still do your whole combo turn, which is very cool. Very nice card. Like, solid so far. This has been a solid ride line, just netting you nice little amounts of advantage and refunding you on cost. That's a good one right there. I feel like Dragon Empire hasn't had a ride line like that. Next up, we're going to talk about the main grade 3, which is Scarlet Flame Marshal Dragon Ghandeva, who has 3 skills, which is auto Vanguard Circle. When your opponent's rear guard is retired during your turn, you may choose one card from your drop zone and bind it face down. Then continuous Vanguard Circle. During your turn, all of your front row units get power plus 2k for each card face down in your bind zone, and if there are 5 or more, he gets a crit. Then act Vanguard Circle, which is his main skill. Once per turn cost, Counterblast 1, choose 5 of your opponent's rear guards, each with a different grade, reveal 5 cards from the top of your deck, and retire all the chosen units with grades matching the cards revealed. Shuffle your deck. If the number of retired cards is 1 or less, draw 1, choose 1 card from your drop, and bind it face down. So this is basically a better form of Eugene. Like, I already said that, but it's true. Because one problem with Eugene is that if your opponent doesn't call anything, a lot of Eugene's skills just straight up turn off. Because Eugene needs to retire a rear guard in order to activate his skill to call a full board from the deck with Soul Blast 5. Meanwhile, this card, even though it is Counterblast 1 to retire stuff, so it still can get messed up by your opponent not calling anything, not really though, because if your opponent doesn't call anything, then you can just draw 1 card and then choose a card from drop and bind it face down. And because of the grade 2 reducing the cost, that cost will be free. So you just draw a card and bind one, so plus 2k to your front row. Along with that other skill is really nice. It's basically like a pseudo form of the crest. giving 2k power for each. Obviously not 5k power, which is insane, but 2k power and potentially giving your Vanguard a crit is very nice, because if you check the over trigger in Dragon Empire, that means this is going to be a 2 crit Vanguard swing multiple times, which is very good. Overall, I think Gandiva is a very solid grade 3 boss. I think it's only going to get better the more cards we get that bind face down, maybe a counter charger that binds face down. That would be even better. But without further ado, let's talk about the other cards. Scarlet Flame Archer Stelguna. When placed on Rearguard Circle, if your Vanguard has Gandiva in its card name, costs Soul Blast 1, bind one of your other rearguards face down. Choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it. If you did not retire, draw a card, choose a card from your drop zone and bind it face down. So overall, this is kind of mediocre, because you have to bind one of your own rearguards, which you obviously would never want to do during the main phase, unless you like accidentally call the trigger off of, I don't know, Draco Baticall, who's a good card in this deck, by the way. I think Draco Baticall is really good in this deck. So it's okay. I wouldn't really want to do that just to retire a rearguard. But there is another card we'll talk about in a second that I think this card is meant to be comboed with. And in that case, I think this card actually will be pretty nice. But without further ado, let's talk about the last card, which is the double rare of the set, Drag Raider Alpha Curl, who says auto rearguard circle. When your Vanguard with Gandiva in its card name attacks a grade 3 Raider Vanguard, cost bind this unit face down and counterblast 1. Reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Reveal up to 1 grade 3 or lower unit card from among them. Call it to rearguard circle and shuffle your deck. So it is a counterblast, which if you go into the late game, it's kind of unfortunate because Gandiva also uses a CB. So you're basically like using 2 CB every turn. But it's multi-attack. It's not only multi-attack, but it's top 5 check for a multi-attack, which is pretty nice. And if you call Stelguna off of this card's effect, you can actually use Stelguna's effect here. You can like Soul Blast 1, bind the booster that boosted Alpha Curl, retire a rearguard, or potentially draw a card and bind something else from your drop, increasing your power even further. So obviously this is a 4 of staple in the deck. It's kind of the only thing that's really unfortunate about it though is that the main form of multi-attack for this deck is rearguard reliant. Like a rearguard generates it instead of the Vanguard, so it's a little like harder to like see this card. But I think that's fine because like most time you'll be mulliganing for this anyways, or there's other cards in Dragon Empire that can make you find this. Maybe if you use Best Harvest in combination, which is really good in Ghandeva, by the way. You can possibly find this card. I think it's not that big of a deal, and plus it only activates on grade 3 too, so it's not much of a like an incentive to always have this, especially if you're going first. Yeah guys, I mean, with that being said, that's the Gandiva ride line for Dragon Empire. I'm very happy about this ride line, mainly because a lot of Dragon Empire ride lines are very piece reliant, and I mean extremely like specific piece reliant, like Overdress, the dolls, stealth, Trick Moons, your arms. But this card, or this ride line really, just feels like, oh, you have retire pieces? Cool, we synergize with retire. And it obviously has its own like bind cards face down, but that's just can be achieved with Gandiva's skill alone. So I just am super happy about it. Let me know what y'all think about Gandiva in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.